The November rain fell in a steady drizzle over Arlington National Cemetery, turning the perfectly manicured grass dark and slick beneath the feet of hundreds of mourners gathered to honor General Robert Harrison, a decorated veteran who'd served his country for 42 years before passing away at the age of 73. The funeral procession moved with military precision through the cemetery's winding paths, the honor guard carrying the flag-draped casket with solemn dignity, while a crowd of dignitaries, military officials, and family members followed behind. It was 1400 hours on a Tuesday afternoon, and the ceremony was attended by some of the highest-ranking officers in the United States military, congressmen, and even a representative from the president's office. Security was tight, with military police stationed at every entrance and a strict guest list that had been verified and cross-checked multiple times. What none of them expected was the young girl in worn jeans and a thin jacket who would appear at the gates claiming she had every right to be there, and whose presence would stop the entire funeral procession and reveal a secret that General Harrison had kept for 15 years. The girl's name was Maya Torres, and she was 17 years old, with dark hair plastered to her face from the rain and eyes that held a determination far beyond her years. She stood at the cemetery gates facing two stern-faced military police officers who blocked her path with crossed arms and expressions that made it clear she wasn't getting through. Maya clutched a worn photograph in one hand and a letter in the other, both protected in a plastic bag she'd brought specifically to keep them dry. She'd traveled for 2 days by bus from a small town in New Mexico, spending nearly all the money she'd saved from her part-time job at a diner just to be here for this funeral. But the guards weren't listening to her explanations or her pleas. To them, she was just another person trying to gain access to a high-profile military funeral without proper authorization. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Miss, for the last time, your name is not on the approved guest list, the taller of the two guards said, his voice firm but not unkind. This is a military funeral with strict security protocols. If you don't have an invitation or official documentation, you cannot enter. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. Maya's voice cracked with desperation. Please, you don't understand. General Harrison was my grandfather. I need to be here. I need to say goodbye. She held up the photograph, showing it to the guards. The picture showed a much younger General Harrison in his dress uniform, standing next to a woman and a small baby. That's him. And that's my grandmother. And that baby is my mother. Please, just ask someone. Ask his family. They'll tell you. The guards exchanged glances clearly, uncomfortable with the situation but unwilling to bend the rules. Miss Torres, General Harrison's family members are all accounted for and present at the funeral. If you were actually his granddaughter, you would have been on the list. I understand you may feel a connection to the general, but making false claims about family relationships won't help your case. I'm not making false claims. Maya's voice rose with frustration and grief. My mother was his daughter from his first marriage. Before he married Mrs. Harrison, they had a falling out when I was 2 years old, and we never reconciled. But he's still my grandfather, and I have every right to be at his funeral. The second guard, younger and seeming less certain about the situation, spoke up. Even if what you're saying is true, miss, we can't just take your word for it. These security protocols exist for a reason. There are very important people at this funeral, and we can't allow unauthorized individuals to enter. Inside the cemetery, the funeral procession had reached the burial site, a place of honor near other distinguished military veterans. The crowd assembled around the grave, and the ceremony was about to begin when a commotion at the gates caught the attention of several attendees. General Catherine Mitchell, a 4-star general and one of the highest-ranking women in the military, had been standing near the back of the crowd when she noticed the disturbance. She excused herself and walked purposefully toward the gates, her dress uniform immaculate despite the rain, her bearing commanding respect with every step. What's the situation here? General Mitchell asked as she approached the guards and the girl, her voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed without question. The taller guard immediately straightened to attention. Ma'am, this young woman is attempting to gain access to the funeral without authorization. She claims to be General Harrison's granddaughter, but her name doesn't appear on any of our lists. General Mitchell's sharp eyes moved from the guards to Maya, taking in the girl's soaked clothing, her tear-stained face, and the desperate determination in her expression. "What's your name, young lady?" "Maya Torres, ma'am. And I am General Harrison's granddaughter, I swear it. My mother was Rebecca Harrison. She married my father, Carlos Torres, and General Harrison didn't approve of the marriage because my father wasn't military and came from a working-class background. They had a huge fight, and my mother and grandfather never spoke again, but I found letters he sent her over the years. Letters she never opened. When I heard he died, I knew I had to come, had to try to honor him even if no one else in the family acknowledges that we exist." General Mitchell studied Maya for a long moment, and something in the girl's story resonated with her. She'd known Robert Harrison for 20 years, had served with him on multiple assignments, and she remembered hearing whispers about a daughter from his first marriage who'd been estranged from the family. "Show me the letters and the photograph," she commanded. Maya handed over the plastic bag with trembling hands. General Mitchell carefully examined the photograph first, and her expression shifted subtly as she recognized the younger Robert Harrison and the woman who'd been his first wife, who died in a car accident decades ago. She then pulled out one of the letters, reading the careful handwriting that was unmistakably Robert's. The letter was addressed to Rebecca, dated 5 years ago, and spoke of regret, of wanting to reconcile, of hoping she'd forgive him for his stubbornness and pride. It ended with a plea to let him meet his granddaughter, to not let old wounds poison another generation. General Mitchell's jaw tightened as she read, and she looked back at Maya with new understanding. "These letters, your mother never read them." Maya shook her head, fresh tears mixing with the rain on her face. "She kept them all in a box in her closet. She died last year from cancer, and when I was going through her things, I found them. There were dozens of letters, all unopened. I read every single one, and they broke my heart. He tried, ma'am. My grandfather tried to fix things, but my mother was too hurt, too angry to give him a chance. And now they're both gone, and I'm the only one left who knows the whole story. I just wanted to be here, to represent the part of his family that got forgotten." General Mitchell made a decision that would cause significant controversy, but which she knew in her heart was right. She turned to the guards. "This young woman is General Harrison's granddaughter, and she will attend this funeral. I'm taking personal responsibility for her presence. If anyone has a problem with that decision, they can take it up with me directly. Is that clear?" "Yes, ma'am." Both guards responded immediately, stepping aside. General Mitchell placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. "Come with me. We need to get you dried off and into the ceremony before it starts." As they walked through the gates, the general spoke quietly. "I knew your grandfather well, Maya. He was a good man who made mistakes, like we all do. He carried the weight of that estrangement with him for years. I'm glad you're here. I think he would be too." The ceremony proceeded with General Mitchell standing beside Maya near the back of the crowd, her presence a shield against any questions or objections. When it came time for family members to place roses on the casket, Maya hesitated, unsure if she should step forward. General Mitchell gently pushed her forward. "Go. You have every right." Maya walked to the casket on shaking legs and placed her single rose among the dozens already there. She whispered words only she and her grandfather's spirit could hear, words of forgiveness and love and grief for all the years they'd lost. As she stepped back, she noticed Mrs. Harrison, the general's widow, watching her with an unreadable expression. After the ceremony concluded, Mrs. Harrison approached Maya, and General Mitchell positioned herself protectively nearby. "You're Rebecca's daughter," Mrs. Harrison said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am," Maya replied, bracing for confrontation. But Mrs. Harrison surprised everyone by pulling Maya into an embrace. "He talked about you, you know. In the last few months, when he knew he was dying, he talked about his biggest regret being that he never got to know you. I should have reached out, should have tried to build a bridge, but I was selfish and territorial. I'm sorry, child. You should have been at his funeral from the beginning." What had started as a moment of conflict and exclusion transformed into something healing. General Mitchell watched as Maya and Mrs. Harrison spoke, as the wall between two parts of General Harrison's family began to crumble. Later, as the crowd dispersed, several high-ranking officers approached the general with questions about the disruption. Mitchell's response was simple and firm. I stopped everything because a young woman was being denied the chance to say goodbye to her grandfather based on administrative oversight and old family wounds. If anyone believes that was the wrong decision, I invite them to file a formal complaint, but I stand by what I did. No complaints were filed. Instead, the story of the girl at the gates and the 4-star general who fought for her right to attend spread through military circles as a reminder that sometimes courage means standing up for what's right, even when it's inconvenient, even when it disrupts protocols and makes people uncomfortable. Maya Torres attended her grandfather's funeral, got to say goodbye, and connected with a family she'd never known. And General Catherine Mitchell, who'd seen countless battles and made countless difficult decisions, would later say that stopping that funeral to let a grieving granddaughter through the gates was one of the most important things she'd ever done.